So let's have a look at another new feature coming in Wish 3.2.01. We've given the calendar a complete makeover. We've added a lot of new features and made it a lot simpler to use. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Let's have a look now. Okay, so you start the calendar the same way by clicking on the calendar button in the toolbar. And this is what the calendar looks like. Take note that we're logged in right now as this user, TD, which in our demo is Tammy Davis. So by default, you have three choices up here, and by default you start looking at your own calendar. So you can see TD, that refers to the user, that's our Tammy Davis person here. And for the calendar you get three views now. We used to only have one, but on this one you have a day-by-day view, so you can define a range of dates with these two fields. And that's what shows along here. So that's the day-by-day view. You can also see your calendar by the month, like this. And you can see this agenda list view as well. So we'll have a look back at those in a minute. As well, on all of these screens, you'll notice a blue arrow, so they will scroll ahead and backwards. Same thing with the month. You can scroll ahead by month or back by month. And the same thing with the agenda list in here. You scroll ahead or back. Anyway, so let's have a look and see how this works here. So we'll start on the day-by-day view, and we are looking at our own calendar. Two ways I can add an appointment to the calendar. I can actually click on a button that says New Appointment, which is right here. Or I can, if I want to add quickly to my calendar, I can use this section up in here to add the details. There are considerably less details on this area than if I go to this button here. So let's try adding one with the New Appointment button, and you'll see the fields that you can get. So this is the screen where you would add a new appointment, and you have to give it a title. So let's say we're going to say Meet with Joan Smith. Okay, and let's say I'm supposed to meet with Joan. I'm going to say on Wednesday. Now here, when you enter the times, by the way, what happens is your start time, you can enter a time like, for example, 10. If you want to enter it in 24-hour time, and you said, for example, entered 1400, that would be converted automatically to 2 p.m. If you prefer 12-hour time, you simply type the 12-hour time that you want, and then you can pick the AM or PM off here. In other words, if you leave this AM or PM blank, it will automatically assume that this is AM unless the time is after 12. So for example, if I put 1330 in here, it will convert that automatically to PM. And it will default an hour, but I'm going to maybe change this, and I'll say I want it to go to this time. Now remember, once again, if I want to enter it as a 12-hour time, I can, but I just have to remember to put my AM or PM down here. So the title, the start date and time, and the ending date and time are in here. You can enter the times in 12 or 24-hour time format, totally your choice. Optionally, you can pick a type of appointment, and your administrator can set up different types. They are color-coded, which you'll see in a minute. And you can optionally type some detail in here. Okay, fill out intake form. Let's say we're going to put that in here. A neat option down here is you can also add an address in. Street, Ontario. And if you have an address, you can actually use this button here, and it will open that up in Google Maps here, which is quite handy if you are going off premise to see a spot. So there, it's pulled up where that is. So that's all new in the program. Now, our calendar is also fully time zone sensitive. We've released this new calendar across all of our product lines, and because of that, some of them need to work in different time zones, and this one is fully time zone sensitive. Probably in your case, most of your appointments are going to be in the same time zone, so that's probably going to be irrelevant, but just be aware that's there. I'm just going to save that here now, and you'll see it's popped up on my screen, and if I roll over it with the mouse, I get some nice information pop up so I can see it on here. I could have entered the same appointment up in here. I could simply pick a date. So say I want something on the 25th. It's going to be at 11:30 in the morning, and the end time I'm going to put it for 1300 hours or 1 o'clock. And then for the title here, I'm just going to put in Meet with Sally. Now, remember once again, these are the choices, so I can pick different types and your administrator can set up different ones. And maybe I'll just make this an administrative task and I'll hit the Save button here. And you see it pops into my screen here as well. Now, when you're looking at these items, or these events rather, you can then click right on the event and it'll open it up for editing. I want to point out a couple of different things on here. If you've got something like, say, this Meet with Sally, because other people might be able to see your calendar depending on your settings, you can actually set an event to be private. And if it's private, you'll be able to see it says Meet with Sally, but nobody else will. As well as people, even if they have access to your calendar, if it's marked private, they will not be able to open it up and look at the details. So that's an important feature there that you can use. Also, what I like about this calendar is that once an event takes place, rather than deleting it, you can just mark it as complete. And watch what happens if I save this now. You'll notice that it was in this area of the screen and it's now not on the screen anymore. And that's because by default, completed items are removed from your screen. So that what you're looking at is just a collection of items that you still have to perform. If you do want to see the ones that you completed, you can go up to this area of the screen right here and choose this Show Completed Items. And if I do that, you'll notice it comes back and it's got a different color on it here. I'm just going to go back in there. I'm going to unmark it as complete. Lastly, there is another choice here. So I'm going to go back to New Appointment. And sometimes you have something that you want to get done, but you're not going to specifically set a time for that. For example, let's say order paper from printers. Okay? And we're not going to put a time in here. In fact, I can accentuate that by clicking on this to-do item. And I'll just mark that. Once again, this is optional to type, but I'm going to mark it anyway as administrative. And when I click Save, you notice that it pops up to the top and it shows me all my to-do items here. So I can have multiple to-do items. They're not assigned a time. That's why they pop to the top. So anyway, that's how you enter items into your calendar, and that's fairly straightforward. Just to have a look at the different views. If you go to month here, you'll see the views by the month, and you can click on the different days. When you pick a day, it actually populates over in this part of the screen. And I kind of like this agenda view one is the one that I like the best. I find it the easiest. Plus, from this one, I can actually print a printed agenda for myself if I want to have a printed copy. Now, what I like about this one here is anything that's past due, which is due prior to today, it shows up on this past due listings here. So you can see that before today happens to be Tuesday. And basically, I was to have ordered a paper already, and I didn't do it. So anything that's past due shows up here. So it's a really handy way to see things that you were supposed to do that you missed. And that's why I actually prefer this agenda listing rather than the other ones. So a couple of other things that I want to talk about here is that you can grant access to different people so that they can access and add to your calendar. And that's done with this Who Can Access My Calendar button here. So recognize that I'm logged in as TD, which in our demo is Tammy Davis. And if I click on this Who Can Access My Calendar, I've already made a list of various people who can access my calendar. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a moment. So let's say I want to access somebody else's calendar. If I go to, I choose individual on this section of the screen, and then over in this one, I can pick who I want to, whose calendar I want to see. So let's say I want to see Marg Knight's calendar. You can see that I'm not approved to work with hers because she did not add me to her Who Can Access My Calendar as I did for her. So for that to happen, basically we would have to log out here. Marg Knight would have to log in. So we'll just log in quickly as Marg Knight. And if Marg wants to grant access to Tammy to access her calendar, she would use that same button. She would say, who can access my calendar? And she would add Tammy Davis to the list. And she might add a couple of people, like she might also say Sandra Brown can access my list. Now please note the administrator can access anybody, so you cannot deny administrator access to your calendar. So now, by the way, I'm logged in as Marg Knight, and you may recall that Tammy gave me permission, so I can actually pick and see. Now I'm looking at Tammy Davis's agenda here like this. Anyway, I'm logged in as Marg, so now I want to go and see my calendar, and I want to add one of my own appointments in here. So I'm going to click New Appointment. I'm going to say Meet with Admin Team. And let's say I'm going to do that on Wednesday, and it's supposed to be at 2:30 in the afternoon. So I'm going to enter that as 12-hour time. It's defaulted an hour, and that's going to be fine for me. I don't have to pick a type, but I'm going to set that as administrative, and I'm just going to click the Save button here. So I've got my appointment in like this. So I've shown you how you can do your own calendar. I've showed you also how you can access another person's calendar, such as this. I'm accessing Tammy's, but I'm logged in as Marg's. And I want to show you something else. Your administrator can set up groups of individuals, and as long as you are in that group, you can actually access it. So what I had done as administrator in our demos, I set up a group called Outreach Counselors. And when I click on that, you see I've got 3 people in this group. I've got Marg Knight, Tammy Davis, and Tina McVie. And you see now on this single view, I can see all of their calendars. So I can see, for example, on Tuesday, Tammy's got an appointment at 11:30, and on Wednesday, Tammy has an appointment at 1:30 as well. And on Wednesday, Marg Knight has one at 2:30. So that's the way the groups can work. And what's interesting about the groups is if you're in that group and you want to add appointments to it, you can do that. So let's say we want to do a team meeting, and we're going to hold that on Thursday. And conveniently, we're going to have that at lunch hour, because maybe we'll get a free meal out of it. And we'll just say it's going to end on the Thursday. And you'll notice now, because I'm logged into my group up here, I picked the select group as here, I can add it to all of the people or some of the people in that group simply by ticking or unticking them on this selection list. So I'm going to add that appointment to everybody in the group. And what you see is it shows up here automatically, here under each person's individual calendar. So that's a really unique feature as well with the calendar here. The team calendars are viewable by day and by month, but not by the agenda listing. The agenda listing will always go back to who you're logged in as, like that. So just keep that in mind. Here's actually, you can see it here as well. If I pick this day, you can see all the different people that show up. So the month and the day by day will show you the team calendar like that. All right? One other feature that you need to know about the new calendar is that where it says individual, your administrator can now set up, we call them resources. So rather than users, I can look at a calendar for resources. So I set up 2 in our demo one. So let's say I want to book a meeting room. If my administrator has set up a suitable resource calendar, I can go in and I say, oh, I'm going to need the meeting room for our team meeting on Thursday. So I can pick new appointment. You notice now I'm booking it under rooms, and I can do outreach team, and I'm going to put meeting room 2. And I'm going to book that on the Thursday, which was the 27th. And I'm going to do that from 12 for an hour. Okay, and I'm just going to pop that in here. So you see now anybody else who's looking for the meeting rooms can actually view that on here like that. So that's a quick introduction to the brand new calendar as it is in Wish 3.2.01. We're really excited about that, the enhancements made, and I think that you'll really enjoy it. There's a lot of powerful features that you can use in your shelter. Thanks for watching.